Sasha, you have a great design as is, but for the greater good to look even better, you're gonna have to start wearing an eye patch before the end of Season 3. Sorry, I don't make the rules. It's inevitable. With Amphibia Season 3's premiere date now less than 2 months away, I wanted to talk about a theory related to Sasha that's been floating around the internet for quite some time now. The theory of Sasha losing an eye, probably her left eye by the end of the series finale, or before the series finale. I've heard talks about this theory every now and then, but didn't realize how much evidence and or foreshadowing there was behind it until I saw a particular thread on Twitter. The person who started this thread was Jashios on Twitter. Sorry if I mispronounced that. The Twitter thread will also be in the description down below for you guys to see for yourselves. The theory began with Sasha's positioning at the end of the Amphibia Season 3 opening. She's with Grime and some of the other Wartwood citizens. But if you take a closer look, she's only with the other people that are missing an eye. Mrs. Croker, Loggle, Wally, and Grime are all missing an eye and or have one of their eyes covered. Wally's a weird one because he was shown to have both eyes properly open in the episode Anne and Wally, but his nickname is literally One-Eyed Wally, so I'm gonna go with it. Would you believe me if there was hints to this theory all the way back in Season 1? Well, there is. In the episode Civil Wart, there would be various scenes showing the events of a romance film that Anne had on her phone with the three main characters, Constance, Hunter, and Alistair. These three characters could easily be compared to the Anne, Sasha, Marcy trio to an extent, minus the romance factor. Constance being the main character while looking the most normal of the three considering they're in a post-apocalyptic world, which is something that stuck with Anne to this day. You know, even though she spent several months in Amphibia and had to adapt to the culture there in more ways than one, she never lost sight of her Earth home, always keeping it close, which played into her design of always having her school uniform on. Whereas Sasha and Marcy embraced Amphibia to their fullest potential once they made allies, changing their outfits completely to look more like warriors that have lived in Amphibia their whole lives. This same concept can be applied to Hunter and Alistair, with Hunter being a cyborg and Alistair being a human-deer hybrid, being as apocalyptic with their designs as possible. Even their personalities are similar to Sasha and Marcy's, you know, Hunter being the tough, strong individual, i.e. Sasha, and Alistair being the more soft, down-to-earth one, i.e. Marcy. But the big kicker here is, like everyone else Sasha is next to in the Season 3 intro, Hunter is missing an eye himself. Granted, it's his right eye, not the left eye, but, you know, it's missing nonetheless. Evidence number 2 may be a bit more ambiguous since it's not as, you know, blatant as the previous two, but I still think it's worth mentioning. In the episode Bizarre Bazaar, Anne and Sprig go to Amphibia's black market to see if they can learn more about the Calamity Box, eventually finding a stand belonging to one Valeriana, who we eventually learned belonged to an ancient order whose purpose was to study the sacred stones from the box. At the front of her stand was a circular stone with almost the exact same design as the real box. The differences are this stone is colored completely in bronze and or gold, the stone on the top is missing, and the frog holding the stones up has one of its eyes closed. The stone at the top that's missing is also the pink stone, the same stone that Sasha was connected to before she got her powers drained at the third temple. The frog missing an eye is one thing, but having Sasha's stone not be there either, that's just too much to be called coincidence at that point. Next is one that I'm sure went over a lot of people's heads, myself included, until I saw the Twitter thread. In Marcy's introduction episode, Marcy at the Gates, she goes on a mini rant about how Anne meeting the planners is just like a hero from her favorite game, Vagabondia Chronicles. A quick snapshot of the game's cover is shown with the main hero, some of their party members, and the main antagonist in the background. But when you look at the main character in specific, don't you get major Sasha vibes from them? Not only are they both blonde sword wielders, but the sword the hero wields is a carbon copy of Sasha's original pink heron sword that Grime gave her after she became his lieutenant. And of course, this character is also missing an eye. The last piece of evidence is the symbol Grime's new army decided to use for their uniforms, the one eye symbol. Granted, the only ones with the symbols were Percy, Braddock, Sasha, and Grime. Percy and Braddock defected from the army at the end of the episode Barrel's Warhammer because they were no longer agreeing with Sasha's intense ideals, meaning they no longer bear the symbol of one eye. And Grime obviously still bears it, but has already lost one of his eyes. That leaves Sasha, the only other person with both eyes currently intact bearing the eye symbol. Considering everything that's been presented through the series, albeit some of them being extremely subtle, it just seems like there's too many instances of this happening for it to not mean anything. To me, it seems like Matt and the crew are clearly setting up an instance where Sasha is going to lose one of her eyes. The question is how it's going to happen. Well, I believe for this injury to have the most impact on the viewers and the character's emotions, Sasha would need to do this by saving someone like Anne from getting badly hurt or killed during the final fight against Andreas and or the Knight. I think her doing this would be the perfect thing to wrap up her redemption arc as well. Sasha's character arc and or redemption arc isn't over yet. Even though she and Anne worked together briefly to take down a greater evil, there's still unfinished business between Sasha and Anne since Sasha lied once again and almost overthrew Amphibia's governing party due to her desire for power and control. I don't think Sasha being super outspoken and opinionated is a bad thing per se, but I feel like she'll learn to be a lot more patient and down to earth after spending so much time in Wartwood, which will presumably be her new home in Amphibia if the opening scenes mean anything. Sasha could easily lose her eye while fighting Andreas' robots in Amphibia though, it's very possible. But I don't think the impact would be nearly as good. I guess the biggest upside to that outcome would be Sasha wearing an eye patch for more time in Season 3 than she would if she lost her eye in the final battle. Eye patches are just so cool. You could argue Disney wouldn't want to do something as quote-unquote gruesome as having someone's eye slashed out, but there's easy workarounds for this. For example, showing Andreas slashing his sword towards the camera, then cut the screen to black showing a slash effect within the black screen, cut away to other characters in the area showing shocked reactions, then back to Sasha with one of her eyes closed with a scar over the eyelid. It's as simple as that. If they can show Marcy getting stabbed through the chest and not showing blood or anything, I think they can manage Sasha losing sight in one of her eyes if boarded in a specific manner. Let me know in the comments below if you believe this theory could become reality or not. I usually try not to get too convinced with my own theories / other theories fans of the show have conjured, but this one just has such an absurd amount of evidence to back it up. It's hard for me not to trust it more than any other past theories. And if there's even more evidence to back this theory up that I might have missed, tell me what they are, please. I'd love to know. Of course, if you enjoyed the video, be sure to leave a like down below. It helps out a ton. But for now, I will see you guys next time. Peace out. Take care. Bye-bye.